I will start with introducing a bit of what the European Space Agency, or ESA, is. We are an intergovernmental organization, European organization, with over 50 years of experience in space. Currently we have 22 member states all over Europe. Most EU members are also ESA members, but there are several also non-EU members that are ESA, and UK is actually an ESA member. And as far as we understood, also intends to continue to be that. We have 8 site facilities in Europe, about 2,300 staff, an overall budget of 5.6 billion euro. And over the years we have built and designed and operated more than 80 satellites in flight. ESA is operating in 9 main areas. Space science, human spaceflight exploration, Earth observation, space transportation, and navigation are the various programs we do. So each of these have applications, like space science is to understand space. So we are going to other planets, we're going looking for other stars. The most famous mission might be the one that you know of, which was called Rosetta a few years ago, where we actually managed to land a probe on a comet. It's one of the few agencies in the world, maybe only together with the big ones of America and Russia, that all actually work in basically all space domains. Ourselves, we are focusing on Earth observation. What is Earth observation? Earth observation is satellites that we send up to observe the Earth. So they are typically orbiting the Earth at an altitude of 800 kilometers. And here is just an example of what you can do with this technology. As you see, this the British Channel. You see both London and Paris in the image. And you see these tracks going through the channel, which is basically the main shipping routes going backwards and forwards in the channel. If you look more closely also, you would see also the Strait of Dover-Calais here, where you have lots of shipping, and also traffic to the various channel islands. And this is done with this technology where you can see the ships with radar technology from 800 kilometers. That was just an example. We are based in Italy, in Frascati outside Rome. And here you see an image from there. If you have happened to go to Rome sometime in your life and use the low-cost airlines or charter airlines, you will most probably have landed on the airport you see down in the left-hand corner, which is the Ciampino Airport. We are where the flag is, up in the right. It's in Frascati, most well known for wine, but also for olive oil and space research. So we are the Earth Observation Center. We claim that we manage the world's largest database of environmental data over Europe and Africa. And we have a community of 17,000 scientific users that use this data, and this is all coordinated by our service portal called ESA Tell Us, that is based on ServiceNow technology. So, the purpose of this presentation, what we talk about, what did we learn during the way when we did this project to set this service portal up? And we have basically 3 messages. I'm happy to, if there are any ServiceNow people here, that they also hear this. We will need to continuously update the platform. And this was a bit of a surprise for us, and we will talk about what that meant. We also need to make it simple for users, so you shouldn't force the users to log on when it's not necessary. And thirdly, you have to be able to get feedback, and it should be simple to do that from the users. And I will go into more details on each of these topics. So the goal. We had an ambitious goal. We wanted to cover all our service processes, service catalog, service requests, incidents, problems, changes, releases, and configuration management using one platform, be used by several providers, and covering all these processes. And last year, we have in our service catalog about 70 catalog items. We manage about 11 to 12,000 service requests per year. We have about 1,000 reported incidents, and you see here 4,100 configuration items in 22 item classes. And as we said, more than 20,000 are registered users on the platform. So each of these users may potentially open requests, incidents on the platform. We have 63 fulfillers for the moment, and we're supporting 20 service contracts, service suppliers. So the goal was to integrate the service platform for all users, and the main type of users we have, you see in this slide, are the data and service users, the people that actually use the data so that they can do these images you saw before. The service manager, which is the managers internal to our organization that manage the contracts we have with the service suppliers so that they can provide the services of data acquisition, data processing. The service suppliers themselves, including maintenance, including service of data processing, and external entities like telecom operator, because we need a network or something similar. And all of these interact with each other through the platform. This was the first portal we built. This was built in 2015. And we had, after a few years, we understood that we had to start to migrate this. We had not a really good feeling of that this portal was really used in a good way. So we set up a new ambitious goal, and we wanted to migrate this to the new customer service management technology in which version was it?
Version of
Istanbul. And we wanted to do a few more other things. We wanted to have a public searchable view of the service catalog so that our users shouldn't need to log on to understand what we could help them with. We wanted to maintain all of these integrations, and we wanted to base on an updated set of technologies available on this platform itself. It was a long, fairly difficult, and I know that my Highmetric friends here were also frustrated sometimes, project. But we had a value outcome of it, and we saw that the use of the platform itself increased. So while before the change, we had about half of all the incidents reported via the service portal. After the change, we're up to 75% of reporting. So people actually prefer to report via the portal rather than writing the old email to the service desk, help, I need you to do something for me. So what did we learn in this project? And there are main things we learned. When we did this project, we were still on Fuji. As you see, we have our timeline here of the version updates. We started our journey 2015 on Eureka, did the initial development, and went live. We just changed to Fuji just 2 weeks before going live on Fuji. And then for various reasons, we remained on Fuji for 2 years, I think almost more than 2 years. And we adopted Istanbul. And the adaptation in that point was actually fairly difficult because it was a very big step on the basic versions of ServiceNow. So we had to look at each process and update and look at, okay, is this still working? The regression check that it's working under the new portal without doing any other changes. Then we said, okay, we will then go and do the portal update as well. So we will replace the old portal and put the new one. And we actually thought that this would be an easy thing to do. We just reuse all the background, and it's just the look and feel in front of it. In the end, it wasn't. It was almost a 6-month project. I think we had about 15,000 change records in the update sets at the end. And we eventually understood that this was a real project that we needed to manage. So we started to have weekly calls, we started to do scrums and all of that, and we eventually went live with the new portal. So the main lessons learned here, you have to be updated, and we have now adopted a yearly update process. So we're up to, will now go to Madrid, as you see in this slide. And you are required in practice, when you do these updates, to look at this as a project. What is it that has changed in the base technology? What is it that I need to attend to see that actually I will remain my functionalities? So it's not only for the version update itself, but it's also for the components that as you see here, in Istanbul, we did customer service portal. When we went to Kingston, we also looked at knowledge base version 3. So we realized that the knowledge base version 2 was being deprecated. We also realized that there were things in knowledge base version 3 that we actually wanted to use. And again, we needed to do a project, a full project, set of scrums to actually achieve that. Looking at the old knowledge base, migrate it to the new version, put it into a format that we could use it, and then put the new processes around it, and retrain the operators on the new process. So all of this was a project in itself. So it was not only to update using it as, okay, I will enable version 3 and everything should be okay. You also need to attend to all of these things. The next version we're going to is Madrid. We will do this basically now. And there we see the same thing happening with problem management. So we go from problem management version 1 that we are using today, and we will go to problem management version 2. The reason why we want to do that is that the customization we have done with problem management is basically unnecessary in problem management version 2. The things that we have done on the platform to go on our problem management will be resolved with more or less the out-of-the-box version on problem management 2. But again, we will need to look at it. We will need to do a project around it. We will need to work on it, look at everything that works, and eventually also retrain the operators. So these future evolutions of the use components, they do allow us to reduce the complexity of our customization, but it needs attention to be applied. So, and if there is anyone from ServiceNow now still in the room, better tools for this would be very appreciated. Then, initially we had a dependency on user self-registration and login, and you all know the drill. You are working on a computer. Let's say that you want to buy something on this nice site on the internet, and what happens? Yeah, you will get this nice form that you're supposed to fill in with more or less relevant information on where you live, who you are, what your favorite author is, or something like that, and you will push a button and say, okay, I'm registered. Then you will get an email. You get this complex link that you're supposed to click on, and then when you do click on that, you're requested to log in. So you all know that this is what happens basically daily when you do this. And what happens next? In fact, we looked at our service requests last year, and 20% of all service requests we get relate to this user management, the management of self-registered user accounts. And basically, there is no value in these tickets. All of this should have been done automatically by the system itself. So we decided we don't own the registration process ourselves. It's another part of the organization. So we decided instead to reduce our dependency on it. So we don't want to force the user to register and log in when not needed. And Salvatore will not say a bit on what we actually did.
Yes, first of all, we use some features that are available in the portal to make things public, because in the previous version, apart from the portal itself, everything you try to go to requested the login up front. Then you have first to log in, solve all the issues that maybe you have with the login, that you forgot your password, you forgot the answer to the recovery question and things like that. Then at the end, what you get is to arrive just to a knowledge base article, for example. Well, actually, in the new portal, many things you can make public, so anyone without logging in can reach the knowledge base article, search the catalog, and get to the point they can just issue a request. In addition to that, we also created a get help function, a very simple form that the user can fill in without logging in. So if they have issues with their login, for example, or if they have a generic request because our users come from the Earth observation portal where anyone can go and just ask questions like, I'm a student, I want to use some of the data you make available, what I have to do. And so this kind of generic request, we don't want to stop them to arrive to us just because they have first to log in. So this is a very simple module they can fill in. Then it's sort of mini case, because this goes in a specific queue of the operators where they can go and look at it and decide, this is an incident or this is a service request of this category, and then we can reply to the user even if we don't know very much about him apart from the email address. So in this case, we create tickets using the guest account. This is another feature that ServiceNow makes available. So we can reply to the user and put his email just in the watch list, and so that we can interact with him in a very simple way. And this has helped a lot to open our services to people we probably in the past just gave up at the first attempt. Now they are getting some services from us, and then can decide, okay, I need to log in because I want to download the data from ESA and things like that. But we can help them in the very first steps of his interaction with us.
So basically, the lesson learned here was avoid unnecessary dependencies on these kind of logins, and do not force users to log in or register when you don't need to. The third thing we will talk about is measurement of user satisfaction or user experience, and it was also covered a bit in the previous presentations this morning. User experience is broadly defined as the happiness of a user after a single transaction. And some research that I found shows that 39% of consumers will avoid vendors for over 2 years after a negative incident. And I think we all recognize ourselves in this. Myself, I had a very painful experience with Vodafone, even though they were mentioned here earlier this morning, just last week. And yes, these kind of things would influence my selection of broadband provider next time I have to talk to do that. So we had, again, an initial dependency here on this. We used the traditional method, the ones that everyone had done for many years. So when we closed the ticket, every 10th user got this type of email. This is not exactly the email we had, but we had a very similar one, where we asked the person to provide feedback on what we have done for them. And if the user actually cared, they would click on the link there. And then they would hopefully be presented. They should have been presented with something like this. Well, this is a sample I found on the net. I think I remember our CB being even more complex with 8 questions and 2 text boxes and submit and everything. But I forgot to tell you, we are in a secure system. So of course we need to force the user to log in first before he even sees that. So how many, during the 2 first years of this, how many replies do you think we got? You've seen my presentation. However, that user was really happy.
I wasn't. It's a very committed, friendful Japanese user.
The Japanese gentleman was very happy.
Maybe he felt obliged to provide us with his feedback.
So we realized that we had to do something about this. So Salvatore, what did we do?
Yeah, we then moved to a to a very simple and immediate way of providing a feedback to us. We send a confirmation email on every incident or request when we complete the task. And then there they find these icons and hyperlinks. They can just click on one of that, and then an email is automatically created, and you can provide additional comments if needed. And then sending this email will fill in a survey record attached to the record that was about the task that we carried out. And in case the answer is on the dissatisfied side, we also automatically create an incident to try to reach then again the user and have additional feedbacks to understand why his perception of the service was negative. So we also from there started our complaint management and eventually escalation to higher level for solving issues with our services.
So, as you see, we got a bit more feedback after this change. We get 10%. We are sending this out after every single resolved ticket. And we actually get 10%, more than 10% feedback back, which is actually more than we would have gotten in any case with the previous method where we only sampled 10%. As you see, we have also trends here. So we are currently running at an average about between 3.5 and 4 in an average score out of 4. We get between 5 to 10 negative feedback per month. And the nice thing with them is that we get them as incidents, so they're actually actionable. So what happens is that the service desk gets these incidents. They will actually try to recontact the user, and they will actually ask them for, okay, can you please give us more information? Why are you dissatisfied? And actually try to recover the situation, which also happens. So we got not only much more feedback, we also got actionable feedback from this. And if you count this with this normal algorithm, we would now be at an user satisfaction of about 95%. And we don't really have anything to measure against, because the previous method didn't give us any. So now we at least know that. And then it's up to management to decide if we want to improve that or not. But we can at least report this with this method. A bit on our roadmap. We are now, as we said, going to Madrid. We are looking at revisiting change and problem management. After that, we will look a bit at the authorization workflow. Some of the data you've seen me showing requires a pre-authorization, other one you can download as you want. And we are looking into automating that authorization workflow with Talas. And we're also looking at later to revisit the management of the self-registered users and the old process about management of these accounts. So top takeaways. The first and most for anyone that is just starting on this journey, you will need to establish an upgrade policy fairly early, and you have to enforce it. And I personally would recommend that you update at least yearly. We don't really have the resources to do it with every ServiceNow update, but at least yearly is really a must, because you will find yourself with the so-called technical debt growing exponentially after 2 updates. If you can avoid it, don't hide behind login walls. Publish as much as you can so that you get a user interaction and open engagement with your platform. If you hide it behind logins, people will start to use other means to try to contact the people that they need help from. And simplify the user experience as much as you can. Try to understand what the workflow of the user is. If you send out an email to the user to tell that the ticket is completed, don't force the user then to go to a portal to respond to that. let him just reply to the email, because then it's natural. He does that in his normal workflow. We don't break his workflow. So with that, with a picture of Madrid, I thought that was in theme. I will ask if there are any questions. I'm happy to answer that. Oh, yeah.
Do you support languages?
The question was if we support more languages. No, we actually don't. The European Space Agency is formally a bilingual organization, so we should speak both French and English. But for this community, we have actually selected to use only English. Anything more? So with that, I say thank you, and I hand back to Chris.